Hi, I'm Pete Andresen with Andresen & Associates, and welcome to World War III. Or maybe not. I'm sure, like that siren out there, that we're wondering what the heck is going on in the world. The horrific slaughter in Israel is enough to give us pause when you add that to what's going on in Taiwan, and with the hot war that is going on in Ukraine. And, you know, I'm a history nut, and I'm already getting calls from clients saying, what's going to happen to our portfolios? Well, first of all, let me discuss what's going on a little bit, and then I'll get to that. Pretty alarming. The first thing is that we don't really know what's going to happen. That book, The Black Swan by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, really points out that unlikely events which are catastrophic are unlikely to happen, but are nevertheless catastrophic when they occur. And so what people do is they tend to pretend that they aren't going to happen at all. The greatest example of that in California is earthquakes. We know we're going to have big earthquakes, but we don't often plan for them, and we resent people who suggest that we should. In the Gulf states, it's hurricanes. We just don't like to consider the dire consequences to unlikely events that are nevertheless horrific when they occur, as happened just now in Israel. Obviously, they weren't expecting that. And the stock market thinks life is okay, and they're probably right, because I think the odds of a war extending to the United States is still less than 50%, but they're growing. Now, there's elements of World War I here, in that if we get drawn into a war, it will be due to foreign, albeit necessary, alliances. So, yes, there is an echo of World War I, but boy, is there a tremendous echo of World War II. If you want a book and you like to go to sleep early, this is dry and hard to read, but absolutely captivating, because it's about the rise of Hitler and how Americans denied that it was happening. Another example that I recommend reading is In the Garden of Beasts, which is about Americans tiptoeing through the Third Reich, pretending that they aren't about to go to war. It's the 1930s all over again, as far as I can see, and we've got Imperial Japan in the form of China, and we've got Russia in the form of Nazi Germany, and now we've got Italy in the form of Hamas, actually Iran. So it's not hard to stretch to envision a potential war in which North Korea, China, Russia, Iran, and some other hangers-on, possibly in the Middle East, climb aboard to create global chaos. So there is a potential of that happening. But like that era, the 1930s, where basically the Axis told us what they were going to do and then they did it, we are kind of in denial. We want to avoid it. We don't like the fight. And so in the 1930s, we actually had Nazis running around in the United States and taking themselves quite seriously, not understanding what the heck was going to happen next. Had they known it, let's put it this way, had a person in Gaza understood what Hamas was about to bring down upon them, I don't think they would have done it. If the Putinists in Russia really understood what was going to happen with the war in Ukraine, I don't think they would have done it. We're in the 1930s all over again, and our portfolios already reflect that, because here's the bottom line. If you look at wars, there's turbulence, and there's turbulence in our portfolios as well, but an extremely diversified portfolio does not get permanently damaged. My concern going into this potential war, which has less than 50% chance of happening, is that, number one, we're going in vastly more in debt as a percentage of GDP than we did into World War II, and thus we risk coming out like Britain, where we come out a shadow of our former self. That's quite possible. Again, Americans aren't taking that. They're making what I call decadent political decisions, which is we obsess about political candidates and we aren't choosing things with the next 30 years in mind. We're still being quite factional, as we were in the 1930s. The next challenge is that we might lose because we're not preparing militarily. Were that to happen, we'd wind up like Italy, which is to say, life wouldn't be horrible, but the gross domestic product really, we're not going to be a very rich country. A lot of the social programs that we take great pride in would probably fall away. A lot of agenda would stop. And the third thing that is likely to happen is that we would have social unrest, which happened during World War II, and there would be loss. Obviously, a war is a tragedy, and the tragic consequences of that, as with World War II, would echo down through the ages. So those are my three big concerns about a possible World War III that's out there somewhere. Anyway, bottom line, your portfolios, our portfolios, my portfolios should be okay, extremely diversified, extremely concentrated in relatively safe government debt and low amount of equities. We should come out of any war reasonably, not going to be pretty, but we should come out of it reasonably well. So the question I got from a client, is my money safe? My answer is as safe as it can be without making wild predictions that may or may not come true. Because like I said, we have no idea what's really going to happen, and it's extremely possible that whatever we think is going to happen will be wrong. So thank you. To the degree that we can, let's enjoy fall, and blessings.